coming on the air with breaking news as Hurricane Helene gets closer to making landfall. It's already an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane and is expected to bring catastrophic rain and winds when it touches down in Florida's Big Bend region.
Tonight, Helene no longer a hurricane, but still taking homes and lives. The massive hurricane that slammed into Florida, overwhelming first responders. Rescues along the East Coast from Florida to South Carolina. In Tennessee, a hospital sending out an SOS when it became surrounded by water. Patients stranded, forced onto the roof, and airlifted out.
How is the recovery going?
Lester, recovery efforts are ongoing, certainly not making things any easier. The rain, officials telling us they have received thousands of calls, but they prioritized 150 trying to get to those people that are elderly and medically dependent.
Good evening. Welcome to Echoes in the Mountains. We're here with Ryan Finds Truth. Another live tonight. What?
Hey, Chris.
Are you echoing, Ryan?
I'm not getting an echo. Are you getting an echo?
Yeah, give me just a moment.
Echo,
give me just a moment.
echo,
I gotta figure.
echo.
Bad.
Hey, everyone. Is it both of us, Chris, or just me?
Hello, hello. No, it was just me. I think it may have been an issue with my headset.
You're good now? Are you good now?
No. Hold on just a second.
Shoot. Technical difficulties. I love it when your daughter comes in chat. That's awesome. Hey, Debbie. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Can you hear me now? That's right, Len. Can you hear me now? Chris is muted. He's working on his echo.
Everything's echoing, Brian. You're echoing every time.
Let me try something real quick. Hold on. Let's try this now. Is there still an echo?
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Yeah, I don't understand it. Wonder if I should leave studio and come back.
Well, go into the settings and go to options and make sure your mic and your speakers actually set up to what you want. There's an echo cancellation option too in the audio settings. And maybe that's not enabled.
Do I turn that off? Echo cancellation.
Make sure it's turned on.
This next year, I don't know why this is doing this, Ryan. It's
Your speaker is set to just your headset, huh?
yeah. You're echoing and I'm echoing. I can't do this.
All right, let's try. I'm going to try something. Just to make sure it's not me.
I don't think it is because I muted you just a minute ago and you were.
Oh, you were still getting it?
Yeah, I was.
Whoa, I almost fell. I think it's only your speaker because everyone else is doesn't seem to be getting an echo. I know echoing is annoying though. So
I can't do it. It's echoing like 15, 20 seconds after things get said.
Oh man. All right. What's your mic set to, Chris? Your headset?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Eve. Be getting some people mentioning me on YouTube, so I figured I'd wear this shirt tonight.
Ryan, should I leave studio and then come back? What?
I'm not sure what'll happen because you're the host. So, the best you can do is audio settings. Change your mic. Try your mic. Change it to something else. See what happens. Change your speakers to something else. See what happens. Are you using a laptop, Chris?
Yeah, but I'm using the same thing that I've used every other time we went live.
I'm just wondering if you change your speaker to your laptop instead of your headset, if it'll help. And you can set it back, but it sounds fine to everyone else. That's what's weird.
Yeah, it's just something going on with my headset.
If your laptop does have sound and a mic, it might be worth just trying your laptop. We'll figure it out, everybody. Don't worry. We have some special guests here coming in soon. Once we figure this out.
Hello. Testing.
Is that better?
This is irritating.
Who is all getting the smoke? I'm not sure what you mean, Jacqueline. Hey, Baby Kisses, good to see you. Maybe you could try leaving, Chris. I don't think it'll kill the live. I think you can maybe exit and come back. I'll stay here if I can.
Hello.
Oh, Canada smoke fire? No way. There's another fire in Canada. Hey, everyone, it's just us now. Sorry, I'm looking up the Canada wildfires. What's going on? Wildfire smoke pushes air quality index in USA and Canada to unhealthy levels 1 hour ago. Man.
I know what it was. You had me pull up my stream to add mods, and it was echoing through my headset.
Oh, that makes sense. Yes. Thank God, figured it out.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So,
I should have
so
told you,
about that.
Chris. I should have told you I always pause my actual live stream. I pause the video. Sorry. We'll get
You're
there.
good.
We'll get there.
So again, guys, sorry for the technical difficulties. Welcome to Echoes in the Mountains. We're here live with Ryan Finds Truth tonight. It's going to be a great live. We have right now we have someone backstage waiting. He's a guy by the name of Andy Harless. I'm gonna let him introduce himself to you. I've worked alongside him during Hurricane Helene. In my opinion, this guy is a hero. He was boots on the ground. He was there when it first began. He was there helping save lives and helping get access to things up the mountains that when a lot of the towns were just blocked off. So we're gonna go ahead and bring Andy on. Hello, Andy. How are you?
Hey, everyone. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Andy.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You want to start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself, Andy?
Sure. My name is Andy Harless. I work for the Kingsport Fire Department. Also am involved in any kind of emergency that in the area that would include our IMT team, which would be like if you called in like a team to run a big emergency, kind of like Helene was.
Okay. So, Andy, can you walk us through when that call came into your department? What was that call like?
Well, I got the call the night before and I worked and we were up all night, all day running crazy calls in Kingsport because of the weather. And then I don't remember when it was, but they called me and they said, "Hey, there's a flood in Washington County. We want you guys to go up there and fly the drone." And we are like, "Okay, no problem." Because I was thinking in my head, the floods that we've had in the past, it's just a flood. It's just, waters went up a little bit and it'll go back down. I had no idea, and I didn't look at the news or anything like that. I've been out in it all day long, so I just figured they'd had the same thing that we had in Kingsport.
Right.
So when I showed up the first day, it was utter and total chaos. There was no communication. There was no radio communication. There was no cell phones. We knew where to go, and that was about it.
Right. So is it safe to say when you got there, this was not something that you ever expected to see?
No, not even close to anything. That the closest thing that I could imagine is if a dam broke, and then this would be the devastation downstream of the dam.
Right.
That would be the only thing that
Absolutely.
could cause that much damage in my mind.
Right. So, Andy, you got there. You said it was day 1 or day 2 when you got there?
The storm happened at nighttime or during that first nighttime, and then I showed up at 8 o'clock the next morning. So pretty much as soon as the rain had stopped.
Okay. So the rain had stopped, but the water was continuing to rise. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was at its peak when I showed up.
Okay. So you showed up. Was TEMA and FEMA already in place at that point, or was
No,
just it?
the emergency management teams I think have been activated, and I think they were still trying to get a handle on what exactly was going on. The crews that we had there from Kingsport and other areas the night before were just doing kind of just emergency ops, like responding to 911 call kind of stuff.
Right.
And then when we went into it, it was transitioning to this is huge. This is going to be a long term. This is going to be a big project. And then that's when we kind of showed up and kind of got the scale of it. The first time I understood the scale of it, it was we were at the school and then we transitioned to the river. And then once we got to the river, we couldn't even get across the river. All the bridges were gone. So
Right.
we said, well, we'll search what we can on this side of the river and then see where it goes from there.
Are you talking about your immediate response area? Was it the Irwin area?
No, it was Washington County.
Washington County. So for
Mhm.
everyone in chat who's asking, this was the end of September. This was the end of 2024 in September when the storm Hurricane Helene first hit. It hit a little before that in Florida, made its way quickly inland, and then completely decimated North Carolina, Western North Carolina, Tennessee, and actually some of Virginia and a lot of other areas too. So Washington County was hit hard, and there was that was the first response. Andy, they sent you down to Washington. What area of Washington County initially?
It is right next to the Big Rock. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that Big Rock. It's very common. I can't remember that. It has a name, but I can't remember it right off the top of my head. Um, some of the roads and stuff, I knew them at the time, but I can't remember them exactly right off the top of my head. But it was pretty much, if you look at the map, are you going from Irwin into Washington County? The river just snakes right into Washington County, and that's pretty much where we were.
We're
Right
talking
over
So
about
down toward the Unicoi area, essentially,
yes,
right?
down toward the South
Yeah.
Park. Yes.
Yep. Where the tracks got wiped out and the river went.
Yeah. So if you'll follow the river up from your map there, that's pretty much where it was north of Little Germany, if that helps.
okay. So let's see. So here's the Nolichucky River, guys. This is the Nolichucky River back in 2020. Want to zoom in here just a little bit. This was Ballot Health. I want to say this was was this Unicoi County Hospital?
I believe so. It's
So
the hospital in Irwin.
yep. So this is the hospital in Irwin, guys. You could see this area, the Nolichucky River run through here. This is what it looked like for as long as all of us can remember here in East Tennessee. All the way up into the mountains, the Nolichucky River just meandered along these mountains. We're going to move forward just a little bit, and I'm going to kind of show you what happened after Helene came up from the Gulf of Mexico and what it done to the Nolichucky and the changes that it caused. So right there, you can see the absolute devastation. Again, this is the Nolichucky. Anywhere you see this kind of changed vegetation, this is how far the Nolichucky had came up from its banks. We went through here. This was the hospital again at the time. The hospital was completely inundated with water. There were several rescues that took place off of this hospital with Black Hawk helicopters. Andy, was you there when that was happening?
No, that happened. Actually, I'm not sure exactly when that was happening, but it happened before I got there because I didn't know about it.
Okay.
Like I said, the communication was not there at all. I had no idea what was going on in Irwin. Period. That first day.
Right. At what point did you take over as air operations director? Was this when TEMA came in and kind of got set up and incident command structure was in place?
I can tell you, it's probably better to go over the how and why. So our first day or two, we were flying drones, we were doing inspections, we were looking for damage, looking for people lost, anything like that. And then what we kept running into was temporary flight restrictions were going up. No one was in charge of them, and just problems in general in the air. And Chris actually had to leave the field, drive all the way back to Washington County into the command post and try to get a handle on everything, what was going on. And when he was up there, we couldn't communicate back and forth. So we were trying to do what we could do in the field with no communication with him pretty much. And then he come back and he said, this isn't going to work. He said, I'm going to have to leave and go run air operations there. And then you're going to have to leave and go run our operations in Irwin. So that was about day 3 of the event when we went down there. And pretty much the only people besides forestry on this side of Nashville pretty much is me and Chris, who have had the training to do that at that time.
Right. So you took over air operations in Irwin. Is that about the time that I was that I had gotten in contact with you and was deployed into your area?
I believe so. I think you come in with the life saving crew.
Yeah.
I think it was around that time. Um, the first day I showed up, I really didn't know what to expect, what was going on. So I had to kind of baptism by fire really fast on learning what was going on, what were the immediate needs in this area, and then try to organize things there.
Right. Um, so let's talk about your first day as air operations director.
Okay.
Um, the first day you start, you know, you're directing all air operations. So you give us a rundown of how that first day went.
Okay. Well, like I said, I didn't really know what to expect. This has been the first time that I was actually on a big operation as the air operations branch director. Um, we'd had classes on what to do and what to expect, but we didn't quite know what to expect. So I kind of just walked into the room, introduced myself, and then kind of sit down and started doing things that I know that I needed to do. I actually have a little red book that kind of goes over what I needed to accomplish and what I need to do in the planning process for tomorrow and everything like that. And I started to try to check those boxes.
Yeah.
Um, so I started to find my areas that were in need, my assets that I had, and then talk to the drone pilots in the area as well, with having meetings and stuff like that with them immediately. And then I started trying to capture all that data and then tell them what the kind of data I was actually after. Because just driving in the middle of the night and showing up at 6 a.m. and I had no idea what was even going on until the first data started pouring in.
Right.
Because I never went to the site until maybe 2 weeks later. I never had time to go to the actual site.
Right.
I was too busy.
Yep. So I do remember coming in and Andy was absolutely overwhelmed. I want to say I walked into the air operations room and I asked for Andy Harless. Um, they they said, hey, you know, you can give him a call. I want to say it was a number just some random cell phone number because there was so much. I think we were trying to service was down everywhere, as Andy said. So they were just trying to get service through anywhere, any means possible. Um, so I called Andy, and the first thing I hear from him is, "Take your drone, go to the hospital. I got to go. I'm getting on a Black Hawk helicopter right now to go somewhere." it was it was insane. And sure enough, I look up. I'm on my way over to my flight area, and there goes Andy flying across over my head. Um, and it was just a surreal moment at that point. I had never been a part of a true incident command that or the way that Tima had that set up and such a huge organized um, organized process at the school there. Um, Andy, tell us about some of your flights on the Black Hawks up and down the mountains.
Mhm.
What was the goal of your missions?
Okay, well, the first thing, pretty much the first day, I got nothing accomplished that I wanted to get accomplished. They pretty much were just going out, dropping supplies, emergency supplies, water, and stuff like that. And I had no idea about anything. So I sit down and I started making a list. I said, I want a contact person. I want to know the GPS coordinates. I want to know as much information. I want to know if there's any children, uh, any sick people on this in this area, because the way that we were doing it, we were kind of taking off from Irwin and going into the mountains and landing at a safe spot, and then kind of disseminating from there to try to get people to come to those areas. Most of them were churches. Um, I think all of them actually were all churches, were community centers and churches, where people were coming out of the mountains, kind of congregating, and that's where our helicopters were landing. And I that was my main mission, was to find people, that I could communicate with, and somehow find that communication. And one of those ways was coming back. I instantly knew that I needed to get Starlinks up there, and to get Starlinks up there, I needed generators. So it was like one problem after another. I just started checking off little boxes. I started making phone calls and saying, "Hey, I need Starlinks. I need to be able to call these people, or they need to be able to call me and tell me what is in need. Because I can't just take a helicopter up there every time I need to talk to somebody. We needed to find a better way to do it. And it worked out. It did take a little bit of time, but I did get them generators and I got them Starlinks up there pretty quick. And then once that started happening, then they could contact me by text at least. And then the WhatsApp, see, I think it's the WhatsApp.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's what it's called. I think it's the main communication we were using at the time because it was internet communication. And we were I was trying just to find out what their needs were more than anything. Because as crazy as it sounds, there was no way for them to get into North Carolina and no way for them to get into Tennessee. They were just utterly trapped.
So that's what I've got actually pulled up on the screen now. We've seen a lot of floods in this region. This region's kind of prone to flooding, around our rivers and our streams. A lot of time during the summer, you will see flash flood warnings pop up on your screens, almost on the weekly, right? But I don't think that anyone could have ever thought that a river would take out 4 lanes of an interstate, being Interstate 26, that was the main route from Kingsport into North Carolina, or from the Tennessee side into North Carolina. Now, this is just one image. Like I said, this is 26. Interstate 40 was also taken out by mudslides. So it cut off all routes from any route from Tennessee into North Carolina in those immediate days was gone. There was no way to get there unless it was by helicopter. So, Andy, could you ever have imagined that that the Nolichucky River would have done this to Interstate 26?
No, what was kind of crazy is that when I showed up, I didn't know a whole lot about the Nolichucky. I'd only been there like once or twice, and it was as wide as the Mississippi is, and it was huge. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, this is a huge river. But like several weeks later, maybe even months later, I went back up there and I was like, this is a creek. I was like, this thing is tiny. I thought it was navigable at the time, but it's not even navigable. Most of it is just rocky, just barely an inch or two deep at some places, which is insane to me.
Right. So we're gonna take a moment here and we're gonna pull up maybe some video of some of your Black Hawk helicopter flights, and we'll just kind of skip along through them. And let me get that pulled up here.
By the way, Chris, did you both work on the impact plastics searches, or was that just your droning?
Well, Andy was, like I said, Andy was he was the air ops director. He would send me where I needed to go. And there was a point in time where we were doing a lot of missions on impact plastics. We'll go to the Black Hawk video here in a little bit. Let me pull up. I can pull
up you'll get to impact plastics later.
No, we could go ahead and we'll go ahead and take a look here.
I'm wondering, Andy, when did you first hear about the impact plastics situation with all of the people that had been impacted, all the employees that had been swept away?
Honestly, it was probably a week into it because I didn't have time to deal with that. Mine was so overwhelming, the amount of work that I had to do to just get a handle on what was going on and where things were and what I needed to move. I didn't even have time to kind of look at Irwin downtown very much because I was dealing with the outskirts, the people, and just constantly on the phone, constantly trying to find needs and then fix those needs.
Sounded like
But
it was. Sounded like it was. Sounded like it was chaotic. Like it was
it was
chaos.
it was very chaotic. We tried to bring structure to it. It was more, I don't know, just insanity than anything. We were
Wow.
doing really good work and we were making a whole lot of progress, but the scope of it was just insane. I will tell you
Yeah.
that it was one of my first couple of trips we landed, and I don't know the name of the place. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was in the middle of nowhere up there. And the whole community had come out of the mountains to the church, and the church had a generator. So the church was running a generator, and the church had security. It had communications. It had a little miniature hospital tent set up for wounded people. And that's where we
Mhm.
were bringing the supplies. So all the people were getting together and cooking together communally. So it was something kind of like what you would see in a zombie apocalypse movie, where you just kind of show up in a helicopter and literally there it was ex-military personnel having guard duty, um, and
Wow.
just a bunch of nice little ladies in there cooking food for everybody. They would cook maybe 30 or 40 meals worth of meals for people, and then you had people staying there that didn't have power, or if their houses were damaged or whatever, they were staying at the churches and stuff. So that's pretty much the way that most, I think, the mountain folk, I guess you would call them, were kind of dealing with this situation. They were coming together and just living in little groups,
Wow.
and that continued for at least 2 or 3 weeks until they started getting power back.
Hmm.
And well, the roads really helped. Once they started getting the roads, things started moving a lot easier, coming and going. But the main problem is most of the roads are cut into the mountains next to the rivers,
Yeah.
so the rivers just wiped out everything. And you could fix a little section, but it'd be so hard to get up into there.
So what we're actually looking at now is a 3D mesh animation of the debris piles from Impact Plastics. This was put together by a college, actually by the college that Gene Robinson works at. Andy, I'm not even sure if you've seen this video or
I have
not.
not. No.
So we're gonna let this play along as we just kind of talk. So let's talk about some of our missions that we're running at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's something that will forever be in my mind. I will always remember the ominous feeling, the smell of the air that night, the darkness. But you would send me with a state trooper up onto Interstate 26, which didn't even look like Interstate 26 anymore. And we would fly thermal missions in the middle of the night. And what we would do is we have technology with drones that when a disaster occurs and we are trying to do recovery, then it's the unfortunate side of things is you're looking for fresh decomposition. And so with our thermal drones, if we're flying it at 3 o'clock in the morning when the sun's been down all night long and there is a temperature gradient, we can actually, just the same way that we can find caves, we can look for the temperature difference in what may be a victim in a debris pile and what just may be debris. So we were flying that several nights in a row. We were sending that down to Gene, and then Gene would send us back with targets. Um, can you tell us about some of those missions that we've done, Andy? And
Sure. Yeah, like you said, I went to the troopers and I said I need somebody to escort somebody at nighttime, which they weren't doing a lot of stuff at nighttime. Most of the things were shut down, and they were very helpful. They escorted him out, and he was able to get those heat blooms and come back with the data the next day, and then I would give that data to the search teams, and they would prioritize that as areas to search. And if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 of those were deceased people in the balloons that they found. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
If not, they were really close within that area, with like within 5 feet of that area. So,
Yeah.
and
So
most of
that's
them were found in a very common area of the debris piles. That's where most of the people were swept up to into.
yeah.
Wow. Chris, what
So
is this you're showing people, by the way? Is this a 3D rendering of the drone
this is
footage?
this is a 3D model of the debris piles, and it's actually the numbers that you're seeing on the screen are it's like the metric tonnage of debris. It's showing how much debris is in each one of these piles as we go through it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this, like I said, this is put together by Gene Robinson. We'll have to bring him on and get him to talk about this, and I'm sure he would love that. But yeah, as we go through this, you can just kind of see debris pile after debris pile after debris pile. And one thing that you're going to notice in a lot of these debris piles is the same common occurrence of a big yellow plastic. Um, all of
Yeah.
this was ran off from impact plastics. So as everyone knows, impact plastics was involved in a litigation between some of their employees and the company. Their employees claimed that the company held them there too long and wouldn't allow them to leave. And by the time they were allowed to leave, the water had rose so far that only some of them made it out. Um,
Chris, those piles are on the 240 metric tons.
yes, sir.
That's massive. That's insane.
Yep.
Wow.
Let's see.
Andy, were you primarily the air? So you were the air command, right? You focused on air, not so much like water rescue or anything like that. You were directing all of the air support.
Yeah, anything that was in the air had to go through me or be
Okay.
assigned by me. Um, I will go into a little bit more about my team. I had 2 military advisors with me. One was the guard, and one was the air guard. I didn't even know there was a difference until this happened. But I had 2 military officers that sat at my table, and then we would go over things in the morning of assets, missions, and then what we were trying to accomplish that day. And they were astounding at what they could do. So I had ground troops that I could help or kind of help do jobs for me, and I had air assets that would come in and do jobs for me as well.
How did you guys go about prioritizing? I mean, the scale of this was so massive. I mean, as you can see from what Chris is showing here, just these piles alone, you've got the entire river, you've got the communities up and down river affected. How did you guys prioritize your targets? Was
I think
there a method to it?
it was more of just training in general, and we always go for life safety, of course. So my main asset or my main thought pattern was the people that were stuck, that were away from the community. And then
Okay.
another one was we were pretty sure by day 3 there was no more people that were stuck and in harm's way.
Okay.
Most of it was recovery by that point. So if we had any inkling that there was somebody in danger, we would definitely prioritize that. But my main priority was getting supplies and help to the people out in the areas. And
Okay,
then
so you're really looking at saving lives essentially. You're the people who are
yes,
stuck and then getting supplies, food, whatever to keep people alive as long as possible,
yes,
essentially,
yes.
right?
Because
Okay.
if you were stuck out there and you're diabetic, you could easily pass away without your diabetic medicine. It would
Yeah.
not take long. Most people don't have more than a month's supply, and if you got a couple of people that weren't quite up on it, then you could have definitely been in danger very fast. And like I said, we prioritized areas with children, the old. I made sure that there was the streets and the areas we were going to that everyone had the proper health care. And we would fly out healthcare workers as well when they were needed, fly into that areas and stuff because they couldn't make it by foot. Another thing is in the town itself, we were prioritizing finding the hazardous materials that were leaking. So that was one of the jobs I gave my drone people that were local. Is I wanted the map as much as possible, as quick as I possibly could downtown, and then we would go through it in the afternoon and find slicks and spills and containers that were causing hazmat situations. And then the next day, I would come in and assign those to the instant commander. Or I'd give them to the instant commander, and he would assign them to crews to go out and mitigate.
Yeah. So I actually do recall a mission that we were on one day where we were live streaming from the field back to air ops, and we noticed an oil slick coming going down the river. We traced it back with the drone, was able to get a hazmat team out there within probably 30 minutes. And we traced it exactly back to the barrel. I'm not sure if you remember that, Andy. I know that there was so much stuff going on.
Yeah, there was a little sluice where that was, and that water wasn't moving, and no one was in that area because it was just off to the side, and nobody saw that slick from the ground, but you could see it from the air.
Yep. So drones in Hurricane Helene in this area were crucial. Of course, we were having to work alongside all other air operations that was going on because everything else, gets the right of way. If we're flying a drone and a Black Hawk helicopter comes in the valley, then it is our job to get out of the way. And we got to do that quickly. Andy, was there any issues or any type of anything that went wrong during some of the drone operations that week?
I do know that I tried my best to set a limit. I think it was 300 feet is what I told my pilots to go to, and I asked the helicopter pilots to go to higher. I said stay at 500 because I believe the first day or two, the helicopter pilots were going quite low to look for survivors, and that was right in the drone area, and it was causing conflict, and that was a big to do back and forth with Nashville. They were getting complaints that there was drones in their airspace, and then the drone people were saying, well, the helicopters are coming out of nowhere on 20 feet off the ground. So It was a little bit of back and forth of saying, well, let's divide this airspace up a little bit and control it a little bit better. And we did have a couple of rogue pilots coming and going in that area at way too fast, way too low, and they were civilians. And we did handle those, but it took a very long time to deal with those.
Right. So what you're seeing on screen, guys, is a thermal image of a debris pile. And let's see here. Let me pull that back up. That thermal image of a debris pile there, that is what we were looking at in the middle of the night. And we were looking for, now, I can't confirm anything that was found or not found in this image. But if you were looking for something in this image, we had a program called RDT that would actually pick out these spots in these images. For example, if you're looking right along here, you should see you should be able to see, like in the top right corner of the photo, you'll see a warm spot in the photo. Do you see what I'm talking about, Ryan?
Yep, I see it.
Very tiny dot. So that would have been an area that we would have sent teams out to proof on the ground. They would have went out and searched that area the next morning.
But you guys, at what point? It sounds like what Andy was focused on the first few days. You're trying to save lives, and then you're trying to prolong lives, getting people the help they need. At what point? How many days went by before people started transitioning to, okay, now we're actually switching over to a recovery mission? Are we talking a week? Are we talking weeks or a month? Like, when did it transition and everyone felt like
it was pretty quick that people in the river were no longer in danger or they were already gone. Pretty
Okay.
quick within the first day or two, and then there was, I guess, other threats besides just people being in the river at that point. Because obviously, if you're 2 or 3 days in the river, you're not going to make it anyway. And it's not that kind of rescuing at that point. It was more of a recovery at that point after about 3 days.
3 days.
I'm not saying that they wouldn't have rescued other people, but I know. No, go ahead.
You can continue. We weren't interrupting.
Okay. I do know that the water level was so high the first day that the ground crews were finding people in treetops. By the time they were able to get there in foot,
So that
they
was
were
true. I heard rumors of that and I didn't believe it. That was actually
yes
true.
they were actually having to look up to find bodies instead of looking down on the ground because the water level
Oh
was so
my
high.
gosh, that's crazy.
And I
Wow.
think there's a very popular picture. It got millions of views. They found a dog in a tree and it was up several, maybe 10, 20 feet up in a tree and up there, and they rescued it. I know Kingsport did that. That got a lot of views, but that that dog definitely didn't climb 20 feet up in a tree. It was washed down river and just happened to hang on for its life.
It was alive when they found it?
Yes, yes,
Oh, that's crazy. So Andy and Chris and I last night, we actually, when we were preparing for this live, we talked about this a little bit, and Chris kind of shared with me the emotional impact of the time that he spent doing this. Did you have a point in your own, life after Helene that I'm sure you go through a period where the adrenaline's going, you're doing your job, you're not really thinking too much about the images you're seeing, the stuff that you're seeing. Was there a point where you got a chance to take a step back and it actually hit you, like what you saw, the impact of this whole thing on you?
yeah. For me personally, it broke me as a person very quickly. Maybe 7 days into it, because my days were get up about 6 o'clock, be the first one in, start organizing stuff, and I was always the last one to leave. Maybe 8 to 10 o'clock at night. So I was getting home, taking a shower, going to bed, and going right back at it. And I broke down, pretty much cried every night. I cried every morning on the way in. And then sometimes
Wow.
I'd cry while on scene. I'd have to go to a corner somewhere and cry for a little bit, just because I was broken by the amount of stress that this put on me, and then just in general. Because I remember one thing that kind of just broke my heart was I wasn't at the command post a lot. I was in that unique position where I was out and in, back and forth, back and forth. So I spent a lot of my time at the school, which was also the landing area where we were loading the
Mhm.
helicopters. And I saw the community and how much love that they had for the entire town, because you had all kinds of just people out there just helping everybody, and that really
Yep.
just broke my heart. Just seeing how much love was there in general. And for me, some of the things I did to mitigate that was I called my pastor a couple of times. I'd call Chris almost every morning, and
Yeah.
he would, and it would be nice because he would say the same thing. He'd be like, "Man, I just cried 30 minutes on the way up here," and it's like, "Well, I'm glad it's 30 minutes because I cried about 30 minutes too, just on the drive, just
Wow.
because I was so stressed, I was so sleep deprived, and there was so many things happening that you couldn't have those emotions right then and there. You had to have them later.
Because you had to do your job. I mean, you had to
Yeah,
do your job.
things had to
So,
get done, and
yeah.
it was very high stress, very high reward, high skill. There was a lot going on, and a lot needed to be done. And at one point, I asked them to demote me. I said, "I need to go. I'm broken as a person. I cannot do this anymore." And they said,
Wow.
"Well, we can run it from Nashville, but we don't have anybody that can replace you." And I was like, "You can't run this from Nashville. You can't do this. You have to have a person on scene." And I said, "I'll just stay." And then I just continued on through it for as long as I physically could.
God. Can't imagine. What's amazing though is what you just shared is really important though, because the destruction that you guys both saw and the negative impact, I think it's important to highlight the fact that that kind of that feeling you said you got from seeing the communities, the mountain communities coming together, the
Yes,
people who are okay trying to help their neighbors at the churches. That's one thing Jen and I noticed. We went in way after you guys. We were like after the water receded, we were touring the disaster areas, and even then the everyone we interviewed told us that the churches in the mountain communities were the game changer. Like they
yes,
saved lives. They helped so many people throughout this whole
100%.
thing. Yeah.
And it
What about
wasn't
you, Chris?
just the churches though. It was just that was the place, and I think that's kind of what a church should be in general anyway. Is it should be a place that when the need is there, that's where you go to. That's where you know you can go to and get help. And I think
Mhm.
that really, 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 really happened everywhere out through there.
It resonated. I mean, it was amazing. It was very powerful to see those communities coming together.
And I
Unbelievable.
guarantee you, those people know that they're going to be talking about this for generations. To be like, you remember when we all went down there
Mhm.
and spent a month at the church? They're going to be talking about that for a very long time, and I guarantee you, it's
Mhm.
brought resolve to a lot of communities up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think you're right. What you just said, it definitely like it did take a toll. And can you imagine, like, Andy, me and you, we're just two people out of thousands of people that were there, that were seeing the same thing. I was really hoping that the other Chris Lowe, could get on here as well, because he's seen a lot of the same things as well. Um, that's I think that's something that will never leave you. I've been on many searches. I've looked for many missing people, and um, you know the biggest thing, and like I said, I've talked to Ryan about it, and I've talked to Andy about it before, was being on that interstate in the middle of the night, and it's complete dark. It's pitch dark, and you've got um, the only lights in the area are the lights from the state trooper, um, and that just over the hill where you're flying are victims from a disaster.
Mhm. Yep.
Oh, that was another thing that really bothered me when, say, like a month into it, I come back home and I was starting to wind down a little bit, and I went out to eat, and people were just having a normal day, and it made me furious. It made me
Yeah.
ungodly mad that these
Yeah.
people were just having a normal day when 20 miles down the hill, people were having a horrible day.
Yep.
And
Andy, that's
it was
not, and that's
just, it was just stress, and it was just post traumatic stress for me just to feel that
what, yeah.
anger. But
Yeah.
it's just something I just didn't expect to feel.
You guys were in essentially in a war zone. I have a brother-in-law who served in Iraq, and it's so crazy you say that because he shared the same exact sentiment. Like halfway across the world, you've got people dying, you've got bombs dropping, and people are just acting in this country like nothing is happening. Everything is okay. And for you to say that tells me 100% that that area during the Helene disaster and afterwards was essentially a war zone, and you were in the middle of a war zone.
That's what it felt like. The stresses and the I wouldn't say danger, but the danger to other people is the way it felt like to
Yeah,
me. Like
yeah.
if I felt like if I didn't help these people, that people would get hurt or die.
It's just
And
amazing.
I was trying to do it the most efficient way possible. Um, and honestly, Irwin and Washington County were extremely blessed to have me and Chris because we were the only two trained in that area at that time. And I know that they had a lot of trouble in Carter County, I think, because they didn't have an air boss. And I'm positive that North Carolina had a lot of problems because they did not have an air boss.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, you know, I would say, and I can't imagine, I've never been to a war zone, but you hear and the pictures and the videos that you see, and for me, it has to be the closest thing that I could ever compare to a war zone. Um, you know, we knew that when we went out in the field that we were stepping into areas that possibly had toxic dust on the ground. We were
Mhm.
Yes.
walking around. Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
That is, there was a huge case of anthrax because it's
Yep.
underneath the ground, and that people were getting anthrax. I believe
No way.
one of my drone pilots ended up in the ICU because it wasn't anthrax, but it was because of the environment down there. And I guarantee you, people are going to be sick for years because of what
In,
was down there.
in the ICU, it was that bad.
Yes, yeah, he
Yes.
got some kind of lung infection and was in the ICU.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
it's
Let me
crazy.
see. You know
Hey,
what?
hey, Chris, you got to take a break real quick. We're gonna lift the mood a little bit. You've got to say hi to your daughter. She said hi to you several times in chat. Please, you've got to say hi to your daughter because she said hi, Daddy, a few minutes ago. Debbie, what? How old is Debbie?
Debbie is my mom. So,
Okay, so you
um,
got to say hi to your mom then.
yeah. So what it is my mom's probably she's letting my daughter use her account to say hello. So Miss Inslee, hello. Um, that's my daughter's name. Um,
I love it.
I have, of course, I have a daughter. I have a wonderful son. So, yeah, it definitely lightens the mood. Thank you so much.
Had to take a break to say that.
Yeah. So let's see.
I
Man, you
can,
guys.
I can.
Back to real quick the let's see if you give me just a moment, Ryan. Ask him. You can keep ask him a couple questions real quick. I'm gonna see if I can get Gene on here with us real quick because what we're talking about is actually one of their pilots that they sent down here. I know exactly who you're talking about, Andy.
Mhm.
So if you all give me just a moment,
You're
go
gonna
ahead.
get Gene.
I'm going to see if I can because Gene can give us a lot of information about what happened with that drone pilot.
And I'll
Last
tell you
minute.
some more
Wow.
stuff that was happening up there. Some of
Okay.
the things that we were running into is the Irwin is right next to North Carolina, and we were dealing with TEMA, which was doing really good as far as I could tell. And then FEMA was in North Carolina, and I all I heard on the news was how they weren't doing good. So I don't have any firsthand knowledge of that, but I can just tell you the common thing I was hearing was FEMA was failing, but I can tell you TEMA was thriving. And I don't know if it's because of the training we've had or this the work or if it just happened that way. But I do know that they did get hit in a bigger area in North Carolina too. But one of the things I ran into was I was getting reports of people in violent situations in the mountains, and they needed troopers up there. And I asked the Tennessee state troopers, and they said we can't go there because it's North Carolina. And I was like, okay, well, this is getting annoying. And I had no North Carolina contacts at all. So I spent several hours trying to get a hold of somebody in North Carolina, and I couldn't. I called the 911. I got a hold of my dispatch, and they were been trying North Carolina for days, and they couldn't get a hold of anybody over there. And it got to the point where I was going to have to fly a helicopter over there to land to get somebody's information because I was calling every number that was available online that would even remotely be possible because their 911 center had been washed out over there in the
Wow.
office, the county that I was talking to. And I had to find somebody. I had to get this information to them so they could get troopers up there. And it so happens that one of the teams from, I believe, Colorado had people in North Carolina and in Tennessee. And I was able to get in contact with them, and then they got me information back and forth, and that's how I got the information to the 911 center so they could actually start talking to the people in North Carolina. Because before that, there was no communication whatsoever. They wanted to talk to them. They tried to talk to them for several days, but nobody could do it. So it got down to the point where I was going to make a special mission just to fly a helicopter over there to get somebody and say, I need to be able to talk to somebody over here.
It's like going back to the time before phones were even a thing. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that's exactly what it was like. You would think that in an emergency like that, you would be able to find somebody somehow,
Yeah.
but there was no way to communicate any way on that side of the mountain. There just was nothing there. And that's why the
I didn't
Starlinks were so big. Once we started flying those
Yeah.
Starlinks in, it was a game changer. Like
Yeah.
people, because I'd have people come up to me and say, "I've my daughter's in the mountains. She's missing. I really like to know if she's okay." And I'd be like, "Well, I have no idea who she is or how to do that." But I would try to find that information for them. And I think that's probably what I was trying to do too much for too many people at that point. But I was also making progress in like every little thing. Like that would mean more to me than something else.
Yeah.
If I found
It
out,
makes
yeah, I
Yeah.
land and say, "Hey, I found out that your sister's okay," or something like
Yeah.
that. That meant a
I
lot to
mean,
me.
it makes sense to want to help. If somebody's reaching out to you to help them, how do you say no in a
Yeah.
situation like that?
And
I
like I
get
said,
that.
I was in a unique situation where I was in the command center, and then as soon as we got our briefing, I would go out of the command center into the area where the people were, and I would
Mhm.
interact with the people a lot because I was organizing them into getting supplies and stuff. And I will give a shout out to the principal at that school in Irwin. He organized everything that I needed. If I said I needed 50 people to move something, he organized it like that, like a snap of his fingers. He was amazing at doing that. I
Awesome.
don't remember his name. I have him in my phone as principal. I still have him in my phone, but he was just so good at because I'd say I need people to move this. I need. I think one of the things was I need diapers, and they would go find diapers from an organization and bring diapers to the helicopter.
Yeah.
And so anything I needed, I was kind of the contact person of getting out that need.
Yeah. So Gene is actually he's actually not free at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get in contact with the guy. I don't want to put his name out here without his permission, but we did. I do know who you're talking about, and he spent um, a long time in the ICU. Um, so hopefully he's doing a lot better now. Um, I'm thinking that we're talking about the same pilot, right?
Yes, yeah, he
Okay.
he was one of the I think equine people, I believe.
Equisearch, yeah, he was
Yep.
he was one of the Equisearch guys. Yep.
If you'd
Um,
like to, if there's any questions or anything that people have, and I can give, or I can just tell more stories.
yeah, no, I'll reach out to him at a different time. Let's see. Let's go to the chat for a moment, guys. Let's see if there's anything that we can answer here. And Andy, I do want to go back to something real quick while we look through the chat. Um, do you remember a couple years ago where we done a mock drill on on the Holston River, and we had actually put a car in the water. We went there, we set up. Do you remember when we done that?
Slightly, yeah.
Okay, so it's wild that we done that, and then not long after that, an actual flood comes through. And um, is there anything going back to Helene? If this same disaster was to happen again tomorrow, what do you think could be done differently?
Well, I know that they've prepared differently. Um, the obvious problems are still going to be there. You still can't get to people, but I do think that the way we work together, especially with the military, the guard, has been improved. Um, Tima, like I said, does a really good job. They're just really good. Tennessee is so blessed to have Tima. Um, the communications would be improved. I didn't know it, but there was an organization at the time. all they did was Starlinks. They showed up with 100 Starlinks and just started handing them things out. And then now we know that that kind of stuff can happen. For instead of for a whole week we didn't have internet, now we've got the capability of doing that kind of stuff very, very fast.
Yep.
So that kind of stuff I think would help a lot, or it is helped a lot. We learned a lot from that. If anybody ever gets a chance to, or is in the ability to, if you get to go to Nashville, they have a command center down there, and off the command center you have different wings, and different wings will be during different emergencies, and they'll be doing those emergencies sometimes up to a year. And it's quite impressive, the resources that they have down there and the ability to help manage things, because um, every morning at 6 or 7 o'clock, I would get a phone call from somebody in Nashville, and we would brief back and forth of what was going on, what happened yesterday, and he would take it from there. So I was in constant contact with people in Nashville with my needs and my just updates. So it was very impressive.
Right. So, um, Ryan, do you have any more questions for him about Hurricane Helene?
Um, no, I think final thoughts on this was that, I mean, we lived within minutes of Irwin, and we did tour North Carolina, um, with a drone guy who actually was searching for a missing person up there. We were more into the recovery phase long after, and thankfully, a number of people got found. A lot of people got found. Stephen Cloyd, thankfully, we were working closely with his wife, who, it took, I don't know, it took a year, I think, a year and a half, if not a little longer than that, for him to finally get. Everyone got found except for a few. I think Nancy Tucker is still missing, and I think one from the, you know how the river goes from Irwin all the way up to the other town on the other end. If you follow the train tracks, I can't remember the name. I always forget the name of the town, but there's another woman missing up there, unfortunately. So there's still missing people, at least a couple, 2 to 3, and to hear you guys talking, the trauma that you went through, combined with the trauma that these families went through who lost loved ones in the floods, it's hard to explain to people unless they see. The videos show a certain amount, but I mean, you guys were there in person. You guys saw the ongoing real-time disaster as it was happening, and it's hard to explain to people. For us, we weren't even there. I can't imagine what you guys went through, and I think you've done a good job explaining, the emotional impact, the trauma, the overwhelming scope of this storm. I pray to God we never have another event like this in this part of the country ever again, because it was horrible.
Yeah. I agree. Chat, can we just, before we move on, can we take a moment? I said in this video when we first started that, and what that Andy is a true hero in my book. And after hearing his
I agree.
story for Hurricane Helene, I think that we can all agree and take a moment just to thank Andy for what he done during Hurricane Helene, and what he continues to do as he works for the Kingsport Fire Department, and helping every day. It truly is a selfless job, and I know that he does this for all the right reasons.
Andy, I hope you have a good pastor. That's all I got to say. Who can
Yeah,
help
I
you
mean,
get through the. Yeah, good. Man, it's amazing what you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Of course, we don't think we're heroes. We just kind of do our job. Um, there was a lot of heroes there, and I saw them a lot, and a lot of
Mhm.
people that were just doing above and beyond. Like I said, the principal, he was a hero. He did more than I could ever imagine anybody else in a
Mhm.
civilian doing. It was incredible. But there was several people that were just amazing.
Right. So we're gonna move on to first of all, we'll take a moment to remember everyone that lost their lives during Hurricane Helene. I agree with Ryan. I hope that this community never ever has to see a disaster like this again. Um, from the from Asheville to the foothills of the Appalachians, um, everyone came together, um, and just as Andy said, I think that it's going to be talked about for a very long time, even when we're long gone, about how this community grew as a community because of Hurricane Helene. So a lot of people, a lot of our viewers follow Summer Wells and want, I think we can all agree that we want Summer found. I know that you went out and you done some work on the Summer Wells case. I'm going to go ahead and start with kind of the same question to you again. What was it like? What was that first call like when you got the call to go out to Beach Creek to hunt for little Summer Wells?
Sure. Totally changing what we were doing and how we were doing it. At this time, me and Chris were just drone pilots, and that's kind of what they called us in for. And it was several days into it, maybe even weeks into it. I'm not 100% sure. It may have been just days. But the TBI was already there. Several search crews had already searched the area. And when we got the call, I guess the only thing I knew about the call was from what I saw on the news. But there was just a missing person. So that's how we approached it. And we showed up. We kind of got our marching orders of where they were wanting us to look. We told them what we could do, and then that's what we started searching. And the main thing we started to do was map. We tried to map everything we could, any open spaces, and anywhere that the ground people wouldn't have to waste time. If it's a big open field, I can see all of it perfectly from the sky. I can tell there's nobody in a big open field with 2 inches of grass. That's easy to
So
see.
yeah, so I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do want to kind of refresh your memory a little bit, Andy. Chris and you had sent me you all sent me some images from your searches to run through locate a while back. And so just to kind of refresh your memory, you was actually there on day 2 of Summer
Okay,
Wells
that's it.
being missing.
It's such a long time ago.
It is. Oh my goodness. And you've been on so much other things since then, but you were out there searching on day 2. And I want to bring up something to kind of refresh a little bit more of your memory here, and um, maybe you can kind of give us a rundown. We won't pull up all these images, but this is one of your flights that you all had took through Beach Creek. Let's see.
And you guys, was this all the? It's okay to geek out a little bit on here because that's kind of what Chris and I do all the time. Was this all visual, Andy? Was this like 4K, 5K, whatever you have, or was it thermal? Was it some other technology, or was it all visual, just straight up
I
video?
believe I believe at the time we had a Matrice, or not a Matrice, a Mavic Air. I think, if I'm not mistaken, everything was done with a Mavic.
Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of early on, and when Summer went missing, we were, everyone was kind of using the basic drone technology at
Hmm.
that time.
Yeah, it was a very long time ago.
Yeah. So right here, Andy, if you can see, this is 110 Ben Hill Road. This is where
Yeah.
Summer went missing from.
Yes.
It's hard to kind of see that it's up on a big hill here, but if you being out there, you know what this area is like. So this is kind of one of the patterns of your flights. Can
Yep.
you explain to the viewers kind of what you all were doing in this flight? So we've got 110 Ben Hill over here, and we were searching kind of over here. What were we
Hmm.
looking for?
For those that don't know, Beach Creek is kind of in a valley, and we were on the north side of the road. And it's like I said, it's a lot of open areas. So we tried to search the open areas as best we could. We would go up to we'd have an officer with us. And the reason we have officers is because Beach Creek is very shut in. It's very don't come around here kind of place. They they just kind of deal with the stuff themselves. They don't like outsiders coming there. So we had an officer with us. We had a lot of leeway on where we were going and what we were doing. Um, the people there didn't want the authorities there, but they didn't really have a problem with us being there because they knew what we were there doing. We were just looking, and we were searching. Like I said, everything north of the road right there. The ground crews are mostly concentrating on the south side of the road because that is where she lived, and that was a lot more denser. We couldn't see in it as very well. And what we would do is we'd fly around, we'd map as much as we could, and spots that we would see that needed to be checked by foot, we would mark. I know one place had a refrigerator in the middle of the field, and I was like, "That's got to be searched by hand, mark it." And another one was a cow waterer, like where you water your cows. It was flipped over. And I was like, "I can't see underneath that. Somebody could easily be in there. That's another spot." Another place was we found several barns that were in the woods that no one would ever be able to see on the ground, but you could see a structure that was at one point in time a barn that just fell in. And we marked those as well as hot spots that we needed ground troops to go in and search those areas. Because like I said, in open field, you could see somebody, but when you found a structure or something turned over, you needed somebody to have go and search that in person.
Makes sense.
So, bad log files ask a question, and so I just want to see if you're able to answer this for us. When you went out on day 2 of the search, and you may not even know because I know going on these searches, our job is usually to just we fly our missions and we don't worry about everything else. We fly our missions, we do our job. But do you know if you all were searching for Summer as a child that walked away, or was you searching for someone that may have been taken, or both?
At the time, it was just a missing child, and that's kind of I believe anyway. Like I said, it's been a long time, but I believe it was just a missing child at that time. Um, like I said, I got most of my information from the news, from what they were reporting at the time. Whether she was took or not at that time, I don't know if they even had a leaning one way or another. So we were just searching as if she was walked away or maybe had got lost or got stuck somewheres or fell in a pond or something like that.
Well, what organization was actually driving the target areas? Was it Hawkins County Sheriff?
I believe the EMA was in charge, or they were there. I don't know who was in charge per se, but
Okay.
because this was a little bit before we even had like an air branch class or anything like that. So this was just
Okay.
us showing up and them saying, "Hey, go search that." And we go, "Okay," and we just go in that area and wear it out with our little Mavic.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, can you compared? I know that Summer's case took place many years before Hurricane Helene, but comparing the incident command, when you all got there on day 2, how was incident command being ran?
Well, I'll tell you how I showed up. So Chris got there before me, about an hour before. I think I was work and he wasn't. So he got there about an hour before I did. So
Okay.
when I got off at 8 o'clock, I showed up like at 9 o'clock. And I once again, there was no communications. The cell phones don't work down there. Even today, they don't work down there for nothing. You don't have
Yeah.
internet. You don't have cell phones. And Chris said, "This is where I'll be." And that's about where I met him. And when I was driving up the driveway, Chris said the guy he was with pulled a gun out and had it on it out in the open. And Chris said, "No, no, no, this guy's with me." he's like, he's like, "It's not a big deal. It's just one of our guys coming in on a POV." And he's like, okay. And he put his gun up. So that, so they were all, like I said, very antsy at that time, and a little bit, they didn't like people wandering around, especially on their property. But
Mhm.
the people that I interacted with were all very helpful and everything. They understood what we were there for. But like I said, they were very antsy about just random people wandering around. But I didn't get any kind of orders or anything like that. Chris got those the first day, and then once we got done doing what we did, we went back to the church that was down there. That's where the FBI or the TBI had set up a command post, and we pretty much gave them all our data, made a copy of it, gave them all our data, and then talked to the pilot that was there. Um, I believe he was with the highway patrol, and we kind of touched base with him and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing." He said, "This is what I'm doing," and he said, "Don't worry about me. I'll be able to see you." But we said, "Well, we are worried about you, and we'll come down if you fly near us." So so it worked out because we had no communications. The radios don't work down there. They don't hit towers down there. So you just there's no good way to do anything at that time. So what there's a picture, and I don't know where it's at. I'm sure I have it somewheres, but you can see the helicopter shadow on the ground, and the drone. You can see the drone shadow on the ground. So the helicopter was over top the drone
Wow.
when I took a picture when I was mapping, and he was all over the place. So he was looking and looking and looking, and we would kind of stick to our little area. And when he would come down, we'd just kind of go away from him.
Right.
Did anything Andy did? And sorry, Chris, I
You're fine.
just I'm fascinated by this. I'm just curious, Andy, if anything, you did. Obviously, you look at this track. I mean, you were out there for quite a while. You did
Oh
a
yes,
lot of
a lot of data
coverage,
collection.
a lot of data. Was there anything that ever jumped out to you during the whole time you were doing this as, okay, that's kind of weird. Like that doesn't
Um,
look right.
the only thing would have been, like I said, like the cow feeder flipped over in the fridge in the field, and there was another fridge I think next to a building, but those were checked. I know those were checked because I marked them and made sure that they were checked the next day. I made
Okay.
sure that somebody had walked up there and checked those. Which
Yeah.
there was also cars. I know on the south side we didn't get pictures of them, but I saw them over there. There was a whole yard of cars. I was like, she could have been underneath any one of those. But I talked to the searchers, and they walked dogs and searched underneath almost every one of those cars by hand.
Okay.
Uh, so
So
it's
anything strange was like one of your targets that you said, "Hey, check this out, please."
yeah, anything strange that I would come
Yeah.
upon, like the building or anything like that, I would mark. Another
Yeah.
thing that we did search, you can see that little circle there on the south side. I think there is a water source there, either there or to the right, one of the two. There's a pond there somewheres.
Yeah. Mm.
And from the ground, you can't see, but from the air, I can see almost all the way to the bottom of the pond. So I knew that she wasn't in the ponds. And I took really good pictures of that. It might not be that
It was
circle. It might be
shallow. It
the
was shallow enough. It was shallow enough that you could pretty much tell.
yes, yeah. It was you
Okay.
could tell that it was green, but you could tell that there was not a person right there in the water.
Yeah.
And I did mark those. It might be right there. You just not be able to see it on Google Maps.
That's possible because there's a lot of foliage, a lot of
Yeah.
trees.
At the time, you could definitely see it that there was a large couple. Actually, there was several just little water places, like where cows would kind of congregate and mush it down, and it'd rain, and that's where they would drink.
Oh
And there
yeah.
was several of those in just the cow fields out there, and we would search
Is
those
that
really well.
is that
Here
common,
we
you
go, Andy.
guys? So you guys are the experts here. When you come across a pond, most of the ponds you came across, if they were shallow enough, were you able to pretty much cross them off the list as like, yeah, we can see the bottom. There's nothing there. It's off the list.
It depends on how deep. A lot of these, like I said, were cow impression ponds. They just kind of stomp it around and make a little pond.
Is this kind
Um,
of what we're looking at right now, Andy?
yep, that's kind of what it looks like right there.
So I
It was
can
kind
pull
of
up the
green.
DJI 119. I can pull up that photo here, and kind of so you can kind of see exactly what that looks like on here.
Especially around the edges. That's where a person probably would be. and
Right.
maybe 6 feet of water, that you're going to be able to see that from the sky much easier than you can from the ground.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this up, and we're going to.
While
We can
Chris is
take a
pulling
look
that
at.
up, Andy, did you find that the foliage? So in June, we're noticing it when Chris and I go out and we try to do anything this time of year in June and July. It's like the foliage is terrible. Do you feel like that was a potentially a factor with the difficulty level in
It
this
was on
initial
the
search?
it was on the south side of the road. It was a lot more dense. Like I said, the north side was all cow fields and like agricultural, and there was a couple of fieldy areas there, but those were easily searched by
Okay.
by ground units. Yeah, you can kind of see there. I don't know if that one shows perfectly, and that might not be a good example of being able to
Right.
see, but you can see pretty good when I was flying around there that there was nothing on the edge, nothing within at least hands distance of that.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that one's pretty muddy.
yeah, and this being so long ago, man, and you fly in a Mavic Air, these images are still really good, Andy. I've
Yeah.
got to give you
Yeah, they
credit.
are.
Like, I mean, we can zoom in here, we can
Yep.
look, and we can see that there is no one on along the
And
edge.
that's something I was thinking of the whole time when we were taking pictures. I was like, if they were to happen to find this little girl and say, right there's where she was, then we would have those pictures and say, well, she was either there she is in the picture, or she say, no, 100% she was not there at that time when
Yeah.
I took that picture.
Yep.
So that was one thing that was going through my mind, is document as much as humanly possible in case they do
Yeah.
find her.
Hey, Chris, Bad Log Files has another really good question with the scope of the
Okay.
search in each direction.
We just
How
a
many
moment.
miles in each direction?
Just a moment. I'll get to that question. Okay, so Bad Log Files says, how many miles in each direction did you search? That's going to be for Andy. We can, on this
You might be able
one
to
mission here. Go ahead.
you might be able to see it there on Google Earth and map it on the
Yep. So that's exactly what we were going to do. So we're going to.
So, Chris, I always thought that red line was the 5 mile, or it was like a 5 mile radius or whatever the radius was, but your track actually goes outside that, Andy.
Yeah, we searched in the morning, and then afternoon we expanded it even farther because
You did.
we actually
Okay.
searched faster than they gave us a small area, and we're like, well, we can do that in an hour, and we did. We knocked it out quick.
So
Wow.
1.67 miles down the road. So we went
Okay.
from Ben Hill, went 1.67 miles. Yeah, guys, that's the thing is, I think a lot of people don't understand how useful drones can be in missing person cases like this. We can have a drone in the air in an area like this mapped out. And what do you say, Andy? How long could we fly something like this? Especially now. Let's say now, with the new technology that we have now. What do you think we do?
I don't know, because I think I flew all that by hand, almost all that.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it would take. You're just usually using batteries, so maybe it definitely could be done in a day. What we did, a proper grid map, easily.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, and we're talking about a grid map that he's talking about. Nadir top-down grid map would cover this whole area, probably even more thoroughly, to where we could actually make a 3D model. So
Yes.
we would have a grid all the way back and forth, and I think that could be done in a day easily. Now, and you got to think, this is a lot of land that we're looking at here, guys. This is not just a little bit of farmland. This is a lot of land. But drones are very useful when it comes to stuff like this. It's, I don't know.
And you can tell by that map that the north side is all farm and all the south side is all trees.
Yep.
And that's where we would just book along because we could see so good.
Yep. So you were focused on the open areas,
Mhm.
trying to find out if, just trying to clear land that was easily cleared.
Yep.
While would you say a lot of the boots on the ground was focusing on
Yep.
the tree area over here that you couldn't necessarily see real well.
Yep. They were really concentrating on the creeks in that area right there at the home, and then pretty much a big circle around that home area. And like I said, I would fly really quick over the open field, take a couple pictures, and then go to the edges and start looking at the edges of the fence rows and the tree lines and stuff like that, where I could peek in and kind of just see.
So you guys, was the area around Ben Hill Road, that area that was searched by ground in the first few days, was it ever searched? I think Chris, you had some tracks where you did some later, right? That area was
Yeah,
searched by drone.
yeah, guys, I could pull up. I've searched a lot by drone in this area. Let's see
Okay,
if
okay.
I could actually try to pull it
But I
up.
mean, the first few days it was so Andy. The first few days it was, hey, by air you're going to do the field, you're going to do the open things that you can see, and the ground forces are going to be Ben Hill Road in that area, right?
Hmm. Yeah, like I said,
Okay.
then the next day we would give them hot spots, and they would go check the hot spots.
Okay, that's interesting. I thought drones pretty much covered the entire area from the beginning.
We personally didn't. Like I said, we kind of stayed away from that area because it. And if you go down there and look at it, it's very, very, very thick. It's like jungle down
Right.
there on that side of the road. It's thick.
I guess it wouldn't
Yeah,
have done much good, right? I mean, with that much cover.
You could have maybe searched the tree lines and and the roads, and those were searched so good. Um, it would have been very obvious from that.
Andy, do you know if there was any other drone teams out there that were searching as well?
I do not remember anybody else besides the helicopter and me and Chris being in the air, at least on that day.
And this was day 2.
Quick question. T-Talk1234 asks, question for Andy. Did they concentrate on the full watershed after the rain on June 15th?
Is this talking about Helene?
No, this is summer. After
Summer.
June 15th, there was apparently some rain there.
Yeah, so we had some heavy rainstorms come in just not long after summer went missing. So I think what they're asking is if they concentrated along the waterways, the creeks areas. But I think Andy did mention some creek areas earlier that.
I do know that the creeks near the home were searched by person. They got down on their hands and knees and looked inside every culvert, every creek, walked up and down them.
Okay. That was the ground focus.
Yeah.
So Andy, this might be a little surprising to you as well, but I'm sure you've seen this before. But the rest of the tags on here, these are the areas that I have searched in Beach Creek.
Right.
Most of those you can see are grid patterns. So I did fly the south side of the road. We covered a whole lot of this.
Wow.
Yeah, there's pretty much nowhere that you couldn't either see with your open eyes on the road or we got pictures of. Because that's a huge area. That doesn't look like it, but
really
it's
is.
a huge area.
Oh yeah, man. This is when you start to look at this area, that is absolutely huge. We're talking about. I mean, if we just.
And Andy, what I want to say real quick too, just the people in chat, people that are following this case, there's not a lot of. I mean, I don't. Have you followed this case personally yourself very closely? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So you know, law enforcement. I mean, they don't put out anything hardly. So I want to reiterate, people. I know everyone here appreciates the fact that you're willing to at least share your perspective and kind of what your experience was on those first few days, because there's so little out there, and at least we know now. I mean, there was a pretty thorough search at
It
least
was an
from the air in these areas.
extremely good search the second day, the day we were there. Like I said, the helicopter was everywhere, anywhere and everywhere that um, a person could walk away from a home and be. They searched with a helicopter.
Andy, do you know if were they going into people's houses? And I know this could be kind of considered an invasion of privacy, but were they knocking on doors and asking, "Hey, can you check your sheds? Can you check underneath your,
Yeah,
or were they asking to go inside of people's house?"
I know. At least one circumstance they didn't want people on the property, and they got a warrant for the property pretty quick because the judges were very um, lenient on it on evidence at this point because it was such a big deal, such
Yeah.
a big thing. So there was pretty much nowhere that the policeman couldn't get because they even told us, they said, if anybody gives you any trouble, you holler at us and we'll get a warrant and get
Wow.
there immediately because they wanted this little girl found. And it was a lot of pressure, I feel like, coming from a lot of different places. So there was a lot of motivation to search everywhere.
Wow. Okay. Um, so how many days was you out there searching, Andy? How many days did you search for a summer before you stopped searching?
I honestly do not remember. I
Okay.
remember doing it. I don't remember the day. It all blends into one day, I guess you could say, in my head.
Right.
I remember doing the things I did, but I don't remember what day they were or when they happened.
So you said the incident command was set up out there.
hmm
Did
It's
I
at a little
hear
church along the road there. You should be able to
right?
spot it on the Google Maps.
Yep, absolutely. You said that the TBI, was it the TBI that took over as the incident commander, or
No, I think the way that Hawkins County is set up, and most counties are, is the EMA would run. And the way for it to work, for people who don't know, is every county has its own EMA, and the EMA would take command, and then they'd have their assets, and they would distribute those assets. But everyone was kind of going through the TBI with their information, and they were a big part of um, the information process because they were going to be there a long time. They knew they were going to be there for a long time, so they needed as much information as possible coming and going. But as far as emergency services, we were under the preview of the Hawkins County EMA.
okay? Um, so did they? We know later on in the search that it started being talked about financial issues, that the search was costing a lot of money. Um, that maybe, and this may have been a reason why the search was called off at some point, down the road. Do you know, was there a finance officer there, or a section chief that was over finance that was making those decisions,
I
or
didn't interact with anybody that financed at that time, and I would say it was so new at that time that it wasn't. And I don't really understand the need of the money or whatever because as far as me and Chris, we went down on the fire department's dime. Hawkins
right,
County never
Mhm.
paid us back or anything like that, and a lot of people were there either volunteering, and I'd guarantee you this was not a national emergency or emergency declaration, so no one getting reimbursed for this kind of stuff. So the only
right,
thing it's really costing money is the each department that is sending someone is costing them money. It's not
right,
costing necessarily Hawkins County money, besides just time. Now the helicopter, I guarantee you that he was flying missions and it was expensive, but it was coming out of their own budget. It wasn't coming out of any Hawkins County budget that I'm aware of.
right. It's
Can,
a
Because
good
can we
point.
because
back up?
it wasn't an emergency. There wasn't no declaration. There is no way to get reimbursed through TEMA that way.
Right.
If you
Unless
don't mind, Chris, I want to back up just a little bit and kind of expand a little bit on what Andy said earlier. And you don't have to. You might not be able to share this, Andy. I understand if you can't, but we're getting a ton of questions in chat on. Do you know sort of like so? There was a news report put out by Hawkins County telling people, "Hey, sir, could you please search your land, check your trail cams, and look for any sign of this little girl." But
Mhm.
you just mentioned earlier, also in some cases they decided to go ahead and issue a warrant if they were told no, or landowners wouldn't let you guys search or anybody search.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's just because of the area in general. For one, I guarantee you those people were tired of people coming up and searching on their land because it was
okay,
it was very obvious that they were just overwhelmed. This is a small little area. No one ever comes here, and all of a sudden there's thousands of police officers everywhere, and it's like this this is not meshing very well.
right, that makes sense. Was there any situation specifically you remember where they were like, okay, we got to get a warrant in this case, or was that just a general thing? Like sometimes they had to get warrants, but you're not aware of
No, that's what
specific.
they told me is that they could get a warrant at any time they needed for
They
the
could.
search
Okay.
this.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like they pretty much just wanted to know if anybody caused us any trouble that we would be able to get the search the area
Yeah.
because um, I'd imagine that they could pretty get a pretty good. I don't know how you get warrants in general, but they had a pretty good chance of getting one on this case.
Right.
Hey,
Um,
Chris, a lot of people are asking about the grave. Chris, can a drone even do anything? So across the road from Ben Hill, there is a grave. There was a burial the day after Summer disappeared, and a lot of people are interested in that Morrison Cemetery across the road. Can a drone do anything when it comes to discerning whether there's any disturbance or anything like that in a grave?
well, we have the technology to find disturbed Earth. We've had that technology for years now. So if we were looking for something as like a grave that had been dug, then absolutely I have the technology that can find it. But
It would, yeah.
if we're talking about a grave that was dug across the street, the day after Summer went missing, Ryan, let's kind of be real here. Like, do we think that someone could have buried Summer across the street the day after she went missing with thousands of searchers in the area?
Yeah, it's a good point. The only thing that a lot of people are wondering is if they use the opportunity of somebody legitimately being buried, as if you're a drone searcher and you see disturbed earth, you're like, well, there was a funeral there. That's normal. You don't think anything of it. But I don't know. It's a theory. It's a theory people have. I don't know what I think about it really, but
I would
it's just one
imagine
of
that
those
the
things.
TBI, I would imagine the TBI had to have looked into this.
Yeah, I would
I would think.
imagine
I
they
would
walk
hope.
dogs over it.
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
So, Andy is, just to kind of to go back, is there anything that you can think of that in this case alone that you think could have been done differently?
Good question.
No, I do not. Um, the amount of people and resources put into that little area was unimaginable. Like
Right.
there was so many people there. I can understand why they were complaining about the cost because on a department by basis, this is where all the resources were going for weeks. It was this
Yeah.
is where everybody was.
Right. Right. Um, Go ahead, Ryan. Did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, Andy, so you have followed the case. Have you personally, if you're willing to share, have you, based on what you've heard, all the things you've heard about the case over the years, and what you know about the searches, do you have your own personal opinion, your own theory on what happened to this little girl who just disappeared off the face of the planet?
I think I know, but I'm not going to say why or how. It's just from hearing other policemen talk and hearing people talk in general. I think I have a pretty good idea what happened.
Okay. Okay. You're not willing to share though publicly.
Nope.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair.
Because
Yeah.
it's just like a UFO story until somebody proves it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Andy, I appreciate everything that you've talked about with us tonight. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been great to talk with you again. You know, the last time I really got to speak with you a lot was, you know, dealing with Hurricane Helene and dealing with an absolute tragedy. So it was good to be able to speak to you again. Before we go, I do want to bring up one thing that's kind of been nagging at my mind for a few weeks now, and
Ooh, interesting.
so I really just want to talk about it. Recently, I have been working with the Santinella family, trying to go on searches to find Layla. Ryan has kind of brought me on board with them, and you know, we went to the vigil, you know, there just not very long ago. I spoke with Jennifer. At one point, there was a search that was going to happen on the Greenbelt. We were talking. It was like we were all going to mobilize, and we were going to put drones in the air. We were going to search the Greenbelt thoroughly. I don't know if you remember this search or not. It ended up being a huge search, but at the last minute, our drones were grounded and called off. Do you remember that search? Do you remember what may have happened?
What was
there?
the lady's last name? I think I do.
Layla Santinello.
No, actually, the one I'm thinking about is different. That's not her name that I was thinking of that we were searching. So I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, are you thinking of let's see.
Holland Snap?
Yeah, are you thinking of Holland Snap?
No, there's another one.
Wow.
Okay.
Would you mind sharing the name of this other missing person, or?
I cannot remember her name.
Okay.
It was the same last name as somebody that I work with. They're not related, but if you said the name, it would pop into my head and I would remember it. But I believe that person I was thinking of, they termed that she was trafficked or kidnapped out of the area, and that she went missing. But
and you're sure that this wasn't Layla Santinello?
That definitely is not the name that I remember.
Okay.
But it might be the same circumstances. It could be.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was kind of curious of. Well, again, Andy, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's kind of getting late. I know, you know, you probably want to get into bed. Ryan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
Everyone that came in the chat tonight, thank you for all of your great questions. You know, coming on, having this discussion with us, having our little therapy session over Helene. You know, it helps so much sometimes just to come on with a community and talk about things that you haven't talked about in a long time.
Before you sign off, Chris, before you sign off, could I say something really quick to Andy?
Yeah.
Okay, so Andy, I know that you work with Kingsport primarily. I just want to share with you this community here specifically, Chris's audience, my audience, primarily are their locals. They're vested in these cases of these missing children, and we know we don't hear about it often. But we know you guys, you and the rest of your team, the rest of your crew, silently work hard as hell trying to do your best to find these missing people, to work disasters. And I just want to personally thank you for everyone here. I'm sure they feel the same way. Please tell your team, tell everyone in Kingsport, everyone you work with, that the community loves you guys and appreciates you guys for everything you do. And I know it's hard, and I know it's emotional and it's traumatic, but what you do, you guys are heroes. You are heroes to this community. So thank you for everything you do.
Oh, you're very welcome. We'll be there at FunFest. If you see a drone in there, that's probably us looking over the crowd.
Awesome. Yay.
Yep. Definitely. I'll stop by there and say hello to you all, because I know that you'll have your drones up in the air. Again, guys, thanks for joining in tonight. It's been a fantastic live. Always great to have Ryan in the chat. Again, thank you, Andy. Just as Ryan said, you guys are heroes. We appreciate everything that you do. Until next time, we're just echoes in the mountains.
Good night.
Good night.